All right, so welcome everyone to the weekly newbie coaching call with me, your host, Amir Khan. Today I'm excited because we're going to talk about stuff that everybody's thinking about at least and is always wanting to learn about, how to go about raising private capital. So I reached out to three people that I knew, and they were gracious enough to accept and be on the call today. And I can tell you it's going to be really beneficial for you because two of them are relatively new. So it's going to be fun. So the three guests that we have is Matt, male. Male- Matt, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly.
Yeah, you got it, Amir. Mel. Yep.
Mel, okay. Dean Maraj, Alex Petrov. So these are our three guests. And then what my plan is to have about 10 minutes each for each of the guests. First, I'm going to ask Matt, then I'm going to ask Dean, then followed by Alex. So in that 10 minutes, I have few questions that I have in mind that we'll go through. So the first question would be, when did you join Freedom Accelerator? It really helps everyone to give them an idea of how long you've been in the program, because a lot of times we like to compare ourselves, although, we've been told, hey, let's not compare, just focus on what you're doing. But it puts some perspective, right? So please mention when did you join Freedom Accelerator, how many slow flips you have, how did you start with slow flips, and some of the struggles that you went through. It could be not just raising private capital, but it could be maybe finding the markets or anything in between, your struggles. And then finally, which is the most important thing that we want to focus on, is how did you find your first private lender? Now, I know Matt is a little different. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have a private lender, but you have figured out a way how to finance your deals, and I thought that was ingenious. And it took you a while to figure that out, right? So that's why
It
you want to
did.
mention that nothing comes free, nothing comes by chance. It is a lot of work. So please share that with us as well. So again, four things. Number one, how did you join? When did you join Freedom Accelerator? How many slow flips do you have? How did you start and all your struggles? And finally, how did you come about with your first private lender? All right. Okay, got it. All right. So having said that, Matt, go ahead, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Amir. So good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Mel, and I joined the Freedom Accelerator program in February of 2024. So I'm a relatively new member with the group, and I did take it fairly slow. I mean, I did what I see some people recommending. I did not have a lot of real estate experience behind me. I had purchased a lot of my personal homes and had built a number of homes, but I hadn't invested in like rental properties or anything like that. So it was new to me. So I went through Scott's program, set up my systems and all of those things. And I didn't buy my first slow flip. I don't think it was until June. So I was in the program 3 or 4 months before I bought my first slow flip. And my strategy was to buy, the first one or two with my own personal money and hope that that would give some credibility with me towards, potential lenders out there, that I had some skin in the game, that I was using some of my own money, and that would help me with lenders. As Amir said, though, as I've talked to people and like I'm sure a number of you, I think the most difficult part of this for many of us is finding that private lender. And I didn't find anybody who was, really willing to step up yet and say, hey, yeah, that sounds like a good deal. I'm ready to invest with you. So I had to start thinking about, kind of other ways and other creative ways of how I might find some ways to fund my slow flips. And I was in a position where, I recently retired from my conventional job. And this was something that I was wanting to do in the time that I had now and kind of as a second career for me. And so I had a chunk of money in some investments already. But the problem was that money was also, part of my income as well, part of my retirement income. And so as I was talking to a colleague of mine that I've known for the last 20 years or so, he recommended that maybe I could find a bank or a lending institution, that would potentially loan me money with using my investments as collateral, so that I didn't have to then, give up that money that I already had that was maybe making money in the stock market or wherever you've got it invested, but that then I could find somebody that would use that to help fund loans, through a bank. So I started a journey to try to find, that type of lender. I went to, a few local banks here around town, talked to them. I was very open and honest with what I was doing, and they just, they couldn't help me at the time. But through persistence, I was able to find a small local bank that was kind of in a town where I grew up at. And they said, yeah, we think maybe that's something that we can do. And so I was able to secure a fairly sizable, personal line of credit with them, probably enough to fund, let's say, 8 or 9 SlowFlips anyway, to get me started. And so that's how I've been funding my more recent SlowFlips. So, it's somewhat strange to me as well, because all I do is I call this banker that I worked with to get me this line of credit. I tell him, hey, transfer X amount of dollars. I'm purchasing a property. He puts it in my account, and then, I obviously pay them back, every month, just like a conventional lender. And it's at about the prime rate. So it's, 8 to 8.5% interest is what I'm paying them back. But I saw that as a win for me, and that, I didn't have to give up that money that was already making me some money. Although one could argue, well, you could make more money on SlowFlips, but there's some risk, associated with that. So it allowed me to keep that bucket of money that I had, while then getting access to some additional funds that I'm now using to fund my SlowFlips, and paying them back over a period of 5 years, or however quickly I can pay that loan back. So I guess what I would say to the group is, think about creativity, and you'll see people on school talking about, personal lines of credit. You'll hear them talking about HELOCs, a home equity line of credits, those different things as well. And so if you can't find that personal lender initially, and you're comfortable, using some of those as collateral, then that offers another avenue to you. So that solved my initial biggest challenge, which was finding a personal money lender for me, and got me to at least where I could get the ball rolling, get some SlowFlips under my belt, understand the processes, get some income generating. And then I'm still on the hunt for a personal money lender. I mean, I'm not stopping just because I got a line of credit with one bank now. I still look to try to find a personal money lender, because obviously that line of credit limits me to just a certain number of SlowFlips. I'm not going to do 20, 30, 50, through a personal line of credit. So I still think that private money lender is, the key, and finding those that can be a continual partner with you. But this was just an alternate means that I found, that I shared with Amir, that worked for me to at least get me going on the first, let's say, 10 or so houses.
Excellent, Matt. So what we are going to do is we're going to hold the questions till the end. Once all the 3 speakers have spoken, towards the end, we'll just open for questions, and you can ask anyone you like. So just make a note of what you want to ask. I do have one question for you, Matt. Can you explain how the actual structure is? So in other words, you have your retirement account. It's a brokerage account?
Yeah, well, yeah, actually, Amir, mine was in it's a cash value universal life policy.
Okay.
So I invest within that for tax purposes. That's a whole different discussion, different story. But yeah, there was a bucket of money in there, and I went to the bank and I said, look, what I'm trying to do is I want to borrow some money. And I said, but I want to use that cash value that's in my life insurance policy as collateral against that loan. So that still allows that money that's in my cash value life insurance policy to grow through the investments that I've got in that, while I still have access to this bucket of money from the bank.
So my question is on this, the actual insurance company. I
Mhm.
know some insurance company would also lend you directly.
Yeah.
Is that something you also explored, or that was not?
I did. I explored that with the company that I got that account with. And they said, yes, they said, you can take a loan against your own money.
Mhm.
The problem was that when they do that, so let's say I wanted to take out $100,000 of a loan. They set that $100,000 aside and it only earns 1% interest while
Oh,
you're taking out that loan.
got it.
So I
Got
wanted that money to continue to earn 8 or 9% in the stock market. And then I'll take out a loan, at the bank at 8% interest. Now, if the market does really good, you look brilliant for doing that. If the market does really bad, then maybe it made more sense to take the
Yeah,
money out of my
right,
account. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So.
right. Okay, cool, wonderful. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, just hold the questions till the end. So we are now going on to our next speaker. Dean, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dean. Probably see me active on the board all the time. Thank you, Amir, for hosting this. What a fantastic resource for the group. Just awesome. I wish I had this when I started. So I joined just before Thanksgiving last year. I purchased my first SlowFlip 1 week before Christmas. I filled that one at the summit last year, so it was end of January. And then I just kept working on this business. I ended up quitting my W-2 job March 22nd. And today I'm sitting at 18 SlowFlips. 5 of them are with private money lenders and the rest are free and clear right now. So the first way I started, great strategy, by the way, Matt. That's awesome. That was blowing my mind. But I did it with a HELOC, which I know Scott doesn't recommend it, but I had a lot of equity in my property out here in Hawaii. So I didn't take all of the equity. I took specifically just in case things go horrible, I could still sell the house and, I don't lose any money. So I took 200 and I started buying like that. And my idea was similar to what Matt said, is demonstrate value. This is what I can provide. And then I started refinancing these whenever I did find a private money lender. And I'll get to how I found those in a second. I started refinancing these. So I would say, here's a cash producing asset. I've had it for 3 months. It's collecting this much a month. I'm going to owe you $667.33 a month of it. And, you're covered by this, et cetera, et cetera. And then, and that started working. And then where I'll start with is I have 4 things that I give my private money lenders. The 2 you guys all know about, the promissory note, deed of trust. Those are mandatory. The first one is the last one I'll tell you. The third one is I also give them a personal guarantee. I just had ChatGPT write it up saying that I personally guarantee the loan, despite whether this asset performs or not, you are backed by this. And then the first thing I do is I go to every single real estate meetup there is. If it's online, if it's in person, I go to every single one. I went to one last night, went to one Friday, I went to one last Thursday. I'm going to one today. After this, actually, I'm headed to one as well. And I pass out my card. I always have dozens and dozens of cards in my pocket, ready to go at all time. And I tell my investment strategy. Hey, what are you into? Are you into real estate investing? Oh, what strategy are you into? And then obviously they're going to ask me in kind. Then I tell them our strategy. Most people don't know our strategy. It's not as well known, seller financing. Some people have an inclination towards it. And I notice every single time the attention in every table starts turning towards a story. My pitch has obviously gotten better as I do it. And it's the law of averages, right? So like when I started making offers on properties, it'd be like 50 offers to 1 accepted. And then I got that down to 40 and then 30. And now I could realistically, hammer out deals. I know, where the price should be in order to get the deal done. Same thing with private money lenders. It's like right now it's like 100 people, 100 contacts will get me 1 private money lender. And so that means I just got to be banging the phones and meeting every single person I can. And I teach them all about what I'm doing with SlowFlips. I tell them the process. They love it. I mean, they're so into it. As soon as I see their eyes start lighting up, I make sure, I identify that, hey, this also isn't easy. Then I bring up the whole, I'm doing it from Hawaii. I wake up at 3 a.m. every day. I'm making calls from 4 a.m. I'm working 18-hour days. This is hard. It's a lot of you guys know it's overwhelming. It's like drinking from a fire hose. And they understand that too. Like, wow, so you got acquisitions in, you got marketing, you got this, you got this. Then I tell them, you can do this too. This is the first thing that I do. You can do this too, and I'll pay you to learn. I'll pay you $667.33, in fact, to learn. And this is how it works. And then I break out the private money, 12% amortized, $30,000 amortized over 5 years. And I'll teach you everything I'm doing. So I have lost some private money lenders. Now I'm about to lose one because he's going to jump into the slow flip game as well. So that's a risk, obviously, but it's another added incentive. I started with that. I will pay you to learn what I'm doing if you're interested, because I see that you're interested. I see the eyes light up. And that's how I've been getting a lot of private money lenders is I just explain it. And it's just the law of averages, 100 people to one. Right now I'm hoping to get that down to 80 over in the next couple months. And last night I did it. And I think I had 2 soft commits last night, and I'm going to have to follow up with them and, send them out my proposal, tell them exactly how it works, have coffee dates. I got from last Friday, I had another 2 soft commits. So, then you got to convert those, and then you got to get a property, and then you got to secure their funding. Scott always tells me, put their money to work as soon as you can. Get their money on the street. You don't want them changing their minds, and you want them collecting their $667.33 a month right away. And the struggle is putting yourself out there. I mean, that's the struggle right there. It's hard in the beginning. I don't have real estate experience before doing this. Only thing was my personal residence, which I bought a triplex so I could subsidize my mortgage, and that's my only real estate investing experience. I don't, so I needed to learn a lot of stuff. And by practicing my pitch, I've learned more about the business because people will ask me questions. It's like, oh, I don't know the answer to that. I need to figure that out. And I always tell myself, never not know the answer more than once. And so whenever at this point now, I've been asked the question so many times, it just flies off the top of the tongue. This is the answer. This is how I do it. This is what you're going to get. This is how it works. And it's helping me close deals a little bit faster. Like I said, I got 4 soft commits now. Now I got to follow up, get those properties, get them in the pipeline. And, maybe I'm going to be sitting on 4 properties in the next month. Not something I necessarily wanted to do, but the money's there. So you got to take advantage. And then.
So that's excellent. One thing you mentioned, you didn't mention that. Tell them when you get somebody really interested, when you're talking to the private money lender and potential, right? Dean, can you hear me?
Do you hear some background noise? Somebody else talking? I don't know if that's on my side. Okay, it's done now.
Yeah, no.
What was that, Amir? I'm sorry.
Everybody's muted here. So you can hear me, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So remember when you were telling me that, they get really excited, you get them excited, but then you tell them about the evictions. So tell them about how you do that. That was very, very good.
Yeah. I always, once I see their eyes lighting up, I have to also steer them back to reality and then say like, yeah, I put in the effort and I talk about all the downsides of it in a way that's manageable still, because I want them to still be interested and still love the strategy. And so I talk to them. I don't talk about the evictions, honestly, that much. I do mention it and say, look, with every investment strategy, there's a risk. And this is our biggest risk, but the personal guarantee is supposed to offset that. So I don't want to focus on it too much. I focus more on the effort because all these people are professional people. They're working W-2 jobs, just like us, just like most of us, working W-2 jobs. They got to take care of their family. Who's got the time and energy to do this? I'm doing it full time. And so there's my value. And then, if they do start doing it with us, there's also value there too, because, I could work with them with wholesaling properties, with helping them market. So there's an advantage to bringing them on board into the business as well. Getting them involved in Scott's thing. He gives like a $700 referral fee. So, there's other opportunities that open up just by networking. So it's like, what's the expression? I've heard somebody say it, one of these online gurus, like contacts equal contracts. It's like, that's actually true. It's very true. I go down to Waikiki. I live in Honolulu, so I go down to Waikiki, major tourist destination. And whenever I go to Waikiki, hanging out with my family, and we start meeting people, if I have a drink at the bar, or if I'm, having a meal and talking to somebody, just talking story on the beach, I'm talking about SlowFlips. I'm talking about this. These people spend a lot of money to come out here. They might have money that they wanna invest with me with. And I talk to them. If I'm in a pool at a staycation, I'm on vacation, I'm talking about SlowFlips. It's just the only thing that's coming off my mouth all the time. It's talking about the business. I just don't stop. It's just the law of averages. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people, and most of those I never hear from them again. But every once in a while I do it, and then I get properties funded.
Excellent. That was awesome. So again, if you have any questions for Dean, just hold on to your questions. After our last speaker, we will just open up for question answers at the end. So next up is Alex. Hi, Alex. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. This is Alex Petrov. Very cool stories there from Matt and Dean. My stories may not be as exciting, but I've been in the business a bit longer than most of you guys as far as Scott's deals and training is involved. I've been in with Scott for about 4 years now. He actually, when he started, I'm in the same city where he lives, in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So when he first started, he actually taught wholesaling. He did not do much about this because as far as SlowFlips were concerned, he was already doing it, but he hadn't paid them off. So it wasn't a completed full model just for him yet. And I guess he was holding off a little bit. And right around the time when I started the coaching with him, which was about wholesaling, that was it. There was nothing else. And then I realized that he actually offered a parallel program shortly after that was about SlowFlips. But it was another program. It was a big fee, an entrance fee was a big barrier of entry. And I decided to stick with wholesaling. So basically in the first year, I had only, for the whole year, I did some wholesale deals. I started learning that business. That one is a big business in its own, as some of you may know. And then the next step of that I was thinking was simply rehabbing, possibly in the future, because I realized that the wholesalers are selling their deals to, or the contracts to rehabbers. So at that same time, about a year later, COVID came, and then business went down everywhere. That was exactly around those times, and prices started going up. What happened is, in our area where we live, where Scott did all of his SlowFlips, there was none to be found in the price ranges that we need. So basically SlowFlips went dead for everybody because nobody could buy them under 50K. So the market went out the window, and Scott never teaches, at least before, I should say, he never spoke about anything to be done out of state. So all of us local guys here that knew him and were part of his coaching programs, it's a pretty large number of local folks too. Now these guys, where everybody was trying to scramble around and doing wholesaling and rehabbing and nothing else, because nobody ever thought about doing anything remotely. And it's funny nowadays, things are completely turned around. So today I have 13 SlowFlips. I started slow and I'm still going a bit slower just because I'm also doing this full time, and I'm doing rehabbing and wholesaling in my local area. And now we're expanding a little bit in Missouri and Illinois also. So as far as the SlowFlips are concerned and finding private money lenders, it's a big task for everybody. It doesn't matter if you have experience or not. And what you guys doing are great. Everybody, has their own ideas of how to do things. And I know Scott teaches certain ways, but that's not always the only way. You can try anything you like. Now, in my examples, I found a couple of private lenders only that have been able to find. One of them I found at a party. It was basically a party that was in relation to real estate, but it was actually at a law group, one of the law offices here. That's another avenue that you can explore if you're close to these circles. As a lot of lawyers that deal with real estate, they deal with a lot of real estate people, and they celebrate all types of different occasions. Be part of those. You will meet others. This is on top of all those meetups that Dean spoke about and any other meetings you can find. There is other events. So basically any public event, especially ones related to real estate, such as from lawyers or REIA groups, there could be a source for you to connect with people that are like-minded. Now, and just like Dean mentioned it, I'm using a lot of your examples there, Dean, but The point is that you will see a lot of people that are within our industry that are so interested that they basically gonna steal your thunder. And even if they become a lender for one deal, then the next ones they want to be in, or they want to do it themselves. So this is a risk that we're always running, almost to the point where if you have known Scott long enough, you'll know that he actually doesn't like to talk about it a whole lot in front of real estate people, because most of his private lenders that he's been able to find, they are not in our industry. And they're the easiest to work with, because if they gain our trust, there's nothing much that they can do besides, because they're so far away from the business, they don't even try to be in it themselves. So if they're a private lender, they'll always be a private lender for you. And in another case, this some of you may know or some may not know. Do you all guys know the company called Offer Market in school? Well, I was the one that found this company. So I found that lender, which became a private lender for many of us, including myself. And that was the one that helped me scale a little bit in Missouri, was that particular lender where I bought like 9 flips in 1 year. It was just because of their help. Yes, they charge a lot of money and a lot of fees. They are an actual institution. As far as institutions are concerned, we've never been very lucky to work with them. The only reason these guys were intrigued and wanted to hear more from me when I first started talking with them was because they were interested, because they were themselves in real estate. They were doing hard money loans, but they wanted to diversify. They did not have enough business, and that's what made it happen. Because hard money loans, they can beat out the slow flip loans any day of the week. You will make more money as a hard money lender than it is for a slow flip lender. But because these guys wanted to investigate other avenues of making more money, they were willing to listen. So we had several conversations. Then I brought in Scott, and we got him as a lender. Now, yes, nowadays they charge 14%, but guess what? If $50 or $80 a month, you would pay more for higher interest rate. Is that going to stand on your way for your future? It's not a big difference to me, right? It doesn't make a big difference to me, because whatever it is, if it gets you closer to your goal, so be it. I'll be glad to pay them 14% interest rate, as long as they get me unlimited slow flips. And that's what they can do. They can fund anything up to 50K. In a nutshell, right? That's what they've told me. They give you a proof of fund letters and things like that. Yes, they have extra fees. They make you do your own inspection, and you have to pay for it. They check your credit. So it's not maybe for everybody, but in some cases they're invaluable. And one other thing about them, which had brought some controversy, and I wanted to address it real quick, is that they don't like to have all of their sponsored projects clustered in one area. Like there's certain areas of St. Louis that there was a lot of people that are buying there because houses are cheaper. They don't want to be concentrated there, because if doomsday comes, they cannot sell too many houses in the same neighborhoods. So they wanted to diversify the locations themselves. So they're willing to pretty much invest anywhere in most states. So they are the only private money lender that we have as a group that they have agreed to help us through Scott's group, that can help any slow flip anywhere in the country, and they would fund it up to 50K. So basically that's my story from the how I found them. I found them on Facebook. That's another interesting one. Don't underestimate social media. Facebook is just as strong as anything else. Now, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. When I'm trying to now market separately for private money lenders, guess what happens on Facebook most of the time? Many people are scammers. And whatever you say, often it may come out as a scam, because they say, oh, you offer 12%. This is probably some kind of a crypto stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they think you're a scammer. So I was speaking with several people in the last couple of weeks about this same thing. It's the hardest thing to do is to, when you're speaking or trying to pitch for money lenders, is the fact that they need to see you as trustworthy, whether that's through social media or even in person. And the biggest roadblock is to make them feel comfortable about a model that is very new to them. Because naturally, you will always face that. Even people in our industry don't know what this is, which is not a bad thing, gives us some competitive advantage. But at the end of the day, people, for them, it's hard to land on for you, because they just don't know what this is. And people usually say no to things they don't understand. But again, everything is numbers game, just like Dean mentioned, and that's how you do it. You just go to the next guy until you gain enough trust. Because if you have to prove somebody through a million examples, they are not your private lender. If you have to give them 50,000 pages of proof, that's not your lender. That simply means that they did not get enough trust, and they want to get it in some other way, such as through paperwork or some other type of proof. Basically, that's where we at with this. So raising private money is no small feat. It's a very difficult task that we should never stop doing, right? In my limited success, I have to say I found three so far in 4 years, so somebody can do it in a week or in a day, but in my example, it was three. They've been good to us. They've sponsored all of our deals and everything's been great. So, but at the end of the day, and Scott has said that too, you may need only one and it may be good enough, because if that person is, if they have enough capital, they can sponsor 30, 40, 50 deals. It will set you free. And on top of that, many lenders come from other lenders that they already know. So the one that you find can find you others because they already have your trust.
Alex?
So I hope I covered everything.
Yes, Alex, that was awesome. Thank you. So we just have about 9 minutes. So now we can open up for questions. If you raise your hand, I'll just call you. We may only be able to take a couple of questions. So you can ask questions from any one of them, Matt, Dean, or Alex. Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
I have two kind of quick ones. First one's for Dean. You mentioned the personal guarantee that you extend. I had talked to a couple of people already and said that, and then on one of the calls with Scott, he recommended not doing that. And I'm wondering, is that a legally binding thing, or is it just kind of you telling them, hey, I'm not going to let this fail?
So I know Scott also said that. It's nothing. I mean, it's just a document that I created in ChatGPT. I sign it and I send it to them at closing. I mean, if the thing is, I'm not betting anything negative here, obviously. I'm betting on the positive, like it's going to work, I'm going to pay you, it is going to be guaranteed. And so that's my intent with giving that. But at the end of the day, if something really was to come and I was to get foreclosed on or something, and they would just take possession of the property. I mean, yes, they could come after me legally for the money. But even as I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to forget it as soon as I'm telling you, just so I don't want to put that thought in my mind, because my intent here is to personally guarantee this money. I will pay my private money. I've gotten properties from people that either didn't want to deal with an eviction from our group, or people who said, I'm making less than I would with the private money on this property, and then I take it and then I'll turn it around. And so I've got it financed from people in the group, or somebody said they're having a hard time, they want to liquidate a little bit. And so I took over their position with their private money lender. And so, it's true what Scott says. I try to follow Scott as closely as possible. He's the most successful guy I know, of course. That's why I joined this group. That's why we all joined this group, is because of Scott. I just do it. I'm also wholesaling as well. One of the thoughts, like what Alex was saying, losing the private money lenders because they're doing what we're doing, that's a risk, right? And my intent is, all right, well, because I also wholesale. So if somebody's going to move over here, my company slogan is hold my hand real estate investing. I will help you. I will hold your hand through your first deal. You can learn everything. I'll wholesale you a deal. I'll get your boots on the ground. I'll market your property. I'll help you. I'll show you how to manage it. And we could do as many deals as you want with this. And what I've noticed is some people that are very busy say, you know what, Dean, kind of love that. You did all the due diligence. You did all the work. You filled it for me. Let's do it again. And then other people will say, I want to try and do more of this on my own. And, it's going to be the risk that I'm running because of the way I'm talking about it and the way I'm doing it. But I just think, all right, if you're not going to be a private money lender, there's still other ways to make money where it's win, 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 win for everybody.
Thank you.
Great. Amy.
I was having issues with the mute. And I actually don't have a question, but I just wanted to kind of say thank you. This is really informative. And I have considered offering lenders start more of like a 15% interest, just because it is so much more enticing. It's more than they're going to make pretty much anywhere else on an investment. So thank you for kind of clarifying that has worked for you, because that was kind of my same thought process, is what is an extra, whatever it is, for the extra couple of percent. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate hearing feedback that has worked for people.
Okay. Let me also clarify something. I don't know, maybe I missed the first part of it. There are two things about the guarantee word. What Dean is talking about is a personal guarantee. That's a different thing. When you present your pitch, and if you say that the returns are guaranteed, that's something that you never want to do. In fact, there's SEC requirements that you cannot claim that. So never say that. But what Dean is talking about something different. That's a personal guarantee that I personally say that, yes, I'm taking responsibility for it. So that's a different thing. All right. So don't confuse those two. So we have just 2 more minutes. Anybody has a last question? Yes, Don, go ahead, please. Shortly. It's a short question because we're running out of time. Go ahead, please.
My question was for Dean, on your HELOCs. What specifically are you getting first position HELOCs on your house, or do you have another position on there?
No, I have a first position.
First
I
position
mean,
HELOC?
it's a second position HELOC. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys, we are out of time. Thank you so much. Our guest today was Alex Petrov, Dean Maraj, Matt Mail. Thank you, guys, and hope to see you again soon. There will be a recording of this session, so you can go back and watch it. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Amir.